found herself trapped in a loop, reliving the same eerie dance. The music box's tune grew louder, merging with her screams as she realized she had become part of the haunting melody, destined to dance in the attic's shadows forevermore. The old mansion stood desolate, its history veiled in whispers of curses and tragedy. Sarah, a skeptic, mocked the locals' tales of the shadow figure haunting the grounds. Late one night, a rustling outside her window shattered her disbelief. Heart pounding, she peered into the darkness, seeing a silhouette swaying ominously. Frozen in terror, she discerned a pale face and hollow eyes fixed on her. With dread creeping over her skin, she heard a voice say, "Join us." The shadows enveloped her, and her screams echoed through the night, unheard. As the midnight moon cast an eerie glow through the dense trees, Sarah ventured into the forbidden forest, a place whispered about in fearful tones. The rustling leaves masked strange whispers that seemed to call her name. Ignoring her instincts, she followed the haunting voices deeper, each step quickening her pulse. Suddenly, the trees parted, revealing an ancient tree with twisted roots. Trembling, Sarah noticed shadowy figures dancing around it. Frozen in terror, she realized the whispers were coming from the shadows. In a chilling moment, the figures turned towards her, their faces devoid of features, only darkness. Panic engulfed her as they reached out, their touch icy cold. With a final scream, Sarah collapsed, awakening in her bed, convinced it was just a dream. But as she sat up, dirt-covered hands extended from under her bed, whispering promises of the forest. In the eerie stillness of the night, Sarah heard faint whispers drifting through her room. At first, she dismissed them as a trick of the wind, but as the whispers grew clearer, dread crept over her. Shadows danced menacingly in the moonlight, and a cold breath brushed against her neck. Heart pounding, she followed the whispers down to the cellar. There, in the dim light, she saw her own reflection mouthing words she couldn't hear. Suddenly, a hand gripped her shoulder, icy and firm. Sarah turned, only to face a ghastly figure, her doppelganger, with hollow eyes and a twisted smile. Paralyzed with terror, she realized the chilling truth. She was the phantom haunting herself. As the doppelganger's bony fingers reached out, Sarah's screams merged with the whispers, echoing through the house long after. The night held secrets darker than the shadows, where the line between reality and nightmare blurred forever. Amidst the abandoned asylum's decaying walls, Sarah felt an eerie presence. Ignoring her instincts, she ventured deeper. The flickering lights cast dancing shadows, whispering sinister secrets. A cold wind howled as Sarah stumbled upon a forgotten room. Inside, a mirror reflected her trembling form, surrounded by darkness. Suddenly, the shadows lunged, enveloping her. Gasping, Sarah tried to flee, but icy tendrils held her captive. In a chilling realization, she saw her own eyes glint within the darkness. The shadows hungered for more than her presence. They craved her soul. In an antique store, Emily found a peculiar mirror. Its ornate frame whispered into her fingertips. Then her reflection moved independently, a sinister smile curling its lips. Horror gripped Emily as she stumbled back. The mirror's depths revealed a shadowy figure, a phantom beckoning her. With a gasp, she realized the truth. The mirror didn't reflect her, but the malevolent spirit within. Frantic, she tried to flee, yet everywhere she turned, the phantom awaited. Trapped in a nightmare, Emily's screams echoed in the empty store, unheard by waking world. As dawn broke, the antique store stood silent, the mirror now holding a new, tormented reflection, a warning to those who dare gaze into its depths. In the heart of a dense forest lay an old, dilapidated school. Its crumbling structure whispered tales of forgotten children. Curious, Mia ventured inside. The air turned icy. Shadows danced menacingly. Tiny footsteps echoed. Mia's heart raced. She followed the sound to a desolate classroom. There, children's drawings covered the walls. Suddenly, a child appeared, beckoning her. Frozen in fear, Mia saw their hollow eyes. The children chanted softly, "Join us." Mia fled, but the door slammed shut. She turned to see the children's drawings now depicting her. Whispers surrounded her as she realized she was now part of the forgotten children's realm. As the moon cast an eerie glow over the silent waters, the crew of the fishing boat Mistral felt unease creep into their bones. Whispers, soft at first, then insistent, filled the night air, promising doom. The captain, a weathered soul named Jonah, knew the tales of the cursed waters they sailed upon. Ignoring warnings, they cast their nets. Suddenly, a thick mist enveloped them, hiding the stars. Shapes moved beneath the surface, distorted and ghastly. With growing horror, they realized they were surrounded by the lost souls of a ship long sunken. Desperation turned to terror as skeletal hands reached for them, dragging the minstrel down. Jonah's voice, now joining the haunting chorus, whispered of the crew's fate. As the last breath escaped him, the whispers subsided, the waters still once more. The minstrel vanished without a trace, leaving behind a chilling legend of a ghostly ship doomed to claim all who dare cross its path. The forest was dense, its shadows swallowing the path. Sarah, an avid hiker, ventured deeper despite the sinking sun. A faint whisper teased her ears, beckoning her off-trail. Ignoring it, she quickened her pace. Suddenly, the trees seemed to close in, twisting like gnarled fingers. Panic set in as Sarah realized the path behind her had vanished. The forest hummed with a silent, malevolent energy. A figure materialized ahead, its face obscured. Frozen, Sarah watched as it glided closer, whispering her name. With a gasp, she turned to flee, only to find herself face to face with her own reflection in a dark, still pond. The forest's silent call echoed in her mind as she stood trapped between worlds, realizing she was not alone. The forgotten grove at the edge of town held an eerie reputation. Stories whispered of ghostly figures and vanishing wanderers. Emily, drawn by curiosity, ventured into the grove one moonless night. The air grew colder as she advanced, shadows dancing in the moonlight. Silence enveloped her, broken only by the rustling of leaves. Suddenly, a pale light flickered ahead, illuminating a weathered gravestone. Etched upon it was her name and today's date. A bone-chilling realization gripped her. She wasn't alone. Whispers echoed, "Join us in the darkness, Emily." Frozen in fear, she felt icy fingers on her shoulder. The grove came alive with spectral figures, beckoning her towards an ancient tree. As Emily approached, the figures vanished, leaving her alone under its gnarled branches. Trembling, she read the inscription at its base. "Every soul that hears the grove's call belongs to it." A cold wind howled, and Emily's scream blended with the whispers of the forgotten grove, lost to its haunting embrace forever. In an old, decrepit mansion, Emma discovers a dusty antique mirror at a flea market. Intrigued, she buys it and hangs it in her bedroom. That night, she notices strange movements in its reflection, as if someone else is in the room with her. Each passing night, the figure in the mirror grows clearer, resembling Emma, but twisted, with a malevolent grin. Terrified, she tries to cover the mirror but fails. One fateful evening, the reflection reaches out, pulling Emma into the mirror's depths. The next morning, a new antique mirror appears at the flea market, waiting for its next victim. The dense mist clung to the deserted village like a sinister shroud. Maria, drawn by an unseen force, ventured deeper. A hushed whisper echoed through the fog, chilling her to the core. Ignoring the rising dread, she followed the sound to a dilapidated house. Inside, ancient portraits gazed with malevolence. A sudden gust extinguished her lantern. Panic rising, she felt icy fingers brush her neck. Gasping, Maria spun around to face a ghastly figure in tattered garments. "Leave!" It hissed, sending her fleeing into the mist, heart pounding. But as she stumbled back onto the main road, Maria realized the village had vanished, leaving her utterly alone in the swirling fog. As twilight bathed the old house in shadows, Sarah felt an unsettling chill. She brushed it off, blaming the drafty rooms. That night, whispers danced through the darkness, beckoning her to the attic. Voices, ancient and anguished, echoed promises of forgotten truths. Sarah hesitated, but curiosity lured her upstairs. In the attic's gloom, she found a mirror, its surface rippling with dark reflections. Her own eyes stared back, hollow and vacant, as the whispers melded into a deafening shriek. A hand, twisted and gnarled, burst from the glass, pulling Sarah into a world where shadows reigned supreme. The mirror returned to stillness, concealing its ghastly secret within. As the clock struck midnight, Sarah found herself alone in the abandoned mansion. A faint whisper beckoned from the shadows, drawing her deeper into the eerie hallway. The air turned icy, the walls pulsating with an otherworldly energy. Panic gripped her as she realized the house was alive. Racing to escape, a door materialized where none existed before. With trembling hands, she pushed it open to find a room bathed in an ethereal glow. In the center, a figure cloaked in darkness chanted an ancient incantation. Frozen with terror, Sarah watched as the figure turned towards her with eyes that held a deep, malevolent hunger. The ritual had begun. Desperate, she fled into the labyrinthine corridors, each turn leading back to the chanting figure. Finally cornered, she closed her eyes, bracing for the end. Silence fell. Opening her eyes, she stood in the mansion's entrance, moonlight streaming through broken windows. Had it all been a nightmare? Then a whisper echoed, "You can never leave." The mansion loomed behind her, eternally waiting for its next victim. Amanda, a nature enthusiast, ventured alone into the dense woods. The air turned icy. The trees whispered cryptic warnings. Ignoring the unease, she stumbled upon an ancient cabin. Inside, faded photographs lined the walls, faces twisted in agony. A sudden chill gripped her. Shadows danced menacingly. As she tried to flee, a whisper echoed, "Leave or join us." Terrified, she ran, the voice pursuing. Bursting free, she found herself back at the entrance. The truth struck. The woods trapped lost souls. Amanda's fate now intertwined with the whispering darkness. In a quaint antique shop, Sarah discovered a beautiful music box. Intrigued, she wound it up, and a haunting melody filled the room. The shopkeeper's smile turned sinister as Sarah felt a cold presence looming. She tried to stop the music, but the notes grew louder, echoing through her mind. Panic set in as the tune warped into screams. Suddenly, the music ceased, and the shop was empty. Sarah, trembling, saw a reflection in the glass, ghostly figure, its eyes filled with malice. The cursed music box had claimed another victim. The old house on the hill stood abandoned for decades. On moonless nights, whispers echoed through its crumbling walls. Curiosity led Sarah to investigate. As she entered, a cold draft extinguished her flashlight. Panic rose as whispers surrounded her. In the darkness, a spectral presence materialized, its eyes piercing her soul. Frozen with fear, Sarah felt icy fingers on her shoulder. A voice whispered, "Join us." In a moment of terror, she realized the chilling truth. The house was a gateway to a realm of lost souls. In the heart of the dense thicket, Emily heard whispers, soft and insidious. Brushing them off as the wind's eerie dance, she quickened her pace. Shadows elongated, swallowing the last rays of dusk. A chilling hand grazed her shoulder. Panic surged through her veins. Racing toward safety, the whispers grew louder, sinister promises in an otherworldly tongue. She stumbled upon a clearing, moonlight revealing ghastly forms circling her. Frozen in terror, their eyes locked with hers, hungering for something she couldn't comprehend. As they closed in, a voice resonated in her mind. "Join us." A cold grip seized her soul as she realized the forest held secrets darker than the night itself. In a dusty attic of an old Victorian mansion, a forgotten music box lay hidden. Its mahogany exterior was ornately carved, depicting scenes of fate. Curiosity led Sarah, the new owner, to wind its delicate key. As haunting notes filled the air, shadows danced malevolently around her. The melody grew louder, drowning out her screams. The room spun, and Sarah glimpsed ghastly faces within the walls. Suddenly, the music halted, leaving an ominous silence. She tried to flee, but the door slammed shut. The chilling whispers of tormented souls enveloped her. The music box began playing on its own, its tune now a symphony damned. Sarah's mind shattered as the spirits claimed her, their anguished voices merging with her final scream echoing through the mansion. As the clock struck midnight, Sarah heard faint whispers in the shadows of her room. Dismissing them as mere imagination, she tried to sleep, but the whispers grew louder, forming indiscernible words that sent shivers down her spine. Trembling, she switched on the bedside lamp, revealing an empty room. Just as she relaxed, a cold hand brushed her shoulder. Paralyzed with fear, Sarah turned to see a figure cloaked in darkness, its eyes gleaming with malice. "You shouldn't have come here," it hissed. With a swift gust of wind, the room fell silent. The figure vanished, leaving only a chilling echo. Sarah never slept in that room again, haunted by the whispers in the shadows. As night descended, a dense fog crept into the town, shrouding everything in an eerie silence. The locals whispered of its cursed arrival, tales of lost souls trapped within. Sarah, a curious photographer, ventured out, her camera clicking in the mist. Through her lens, figures materialized, their faces twisted in agony. Racing home, the fog pursued her, whispers echoing deathly promises. In her room, photos revealed ghastly faces drawing nearer. Suddenly, clawed hands emerged from the fog, grasping for Sarah. As she snapped a final picture, her own contorted face stared back, forever lost to the creeping fog's vengeful grip. In an old, dusty attic, a peculiar antique mirror stood forgotten. Sarah, drawn by an inexplicable force, gazed into it one moonlit night. At first, she only saw her reflection, but as a chill filled the air, a shadow emerged behind her. Panic set in as the shadow mimicked her movements, yet its twisted features remained hidden. Desperate, Sarah turned around, but the room was empty. Back at the mirror, her reflection now grinned menacingly, its eyes glowing with malice. Terrified, Sarah reached out to touch the glass, only to have a cold hand grab hers from the other side. The mirror whispered, "Join me." Final scream, Sarah shattered the glass, breaking the unholy connection. As shards scattered, the air plunged into darkness, leaving a shattered mirror frame and an unshakable fear in Sarah's heart. In the dense forest, an old cabin stood, its painting like dead skin. Emma, a writer seeking solitude, arrived. Every night, whispers drifted through the pines, a haunting melody. One dusk, she followed, finding a hidden cellar. Inside, dusty jars lined shelves, each containing a heart. Horrified, Emma heard a voice behind her, "You found my collection." She spun, facing a specter, eyes filled with malice. "Join them," it hissed. The whispers grew louder as shadows encroached, sealing her fate in the heart-filled cellar forevermore. In the old Ravenwood manor, whispers of a curse stirred the air. Amelia, the new maid, felt innocence trailing her every move. One lit night, as she polished the antique mirror, a ghastly reflection appeared behind her, a woman in tattered lace mouthing silent words. Terrified, Amelia fled, but the whispers followed. Desperate, she sought the housekeeper's counsel. With trembling hands, the housekeeper revealed the sinister truth. A former maid, cursed for betraying her mistress, forever trapped within the mirror's depths. Horrified, Amelia realized the curse sought a new vessel. The next morning, the antique mirror stood empty, reflecting only darkness and a chilling message etched faintly, "Welcome home, Amelia." The old house stood isolated, shrouded in fog. Sarah, a photographer, ventured in for a perfect shot. As she clicked, whispers echoed. Ignoring them, she explored the decaying rooms until her camera malfunctioned. Panic rose as shadows danced ominously. Rushing to leave, the door slammed shut. In the dim light, figures materialized, whispering long-forgotten secrets. Frozen in terror, Sarah realized the chilling truth. She was not alone. The spirits sought a vessel, and she unwittingly offered herself. The old house stood silent, shrouded in darkness, its windows like empty eyes. Sarah, a curious soul, ventured inside, drawn by whispers that echoed through the halls. As she explored, the whispers grew louder, filled with anguish and longing. Panic gripped her heart when she realized the voices were coming from the walls themselves. Desperate to flee, she raced to the door, only to find it sealed shut. The walls began to pulsate, the voices merging into a unified wail. In terror, Sarah pounded on the walls, pleading for release. Suddenly, the whispers stopped. Silence enveloped her. Then a voice whispered in her ear, "You should have listened." The walls around her started closing in, trapping her within their grasp. Sarah's screams pierced the air, but no one would ever hear her again. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Sarah stumbled upon an old music box in the attic of her new home. Dusty and forgotten, its delicate notes played a haunting melody that echoed through the empty rooms. Intrigued, she wound the key, releasing a tune that sent shivers down her spine. Night after night, the music box played on its own, its melody growing more sinister with each passing hour. Sarah's nights became sleepless as the eerie tune filled her dreams. One moonlit night, following the music's lead, she discovered a hidden compartment. Inside lay a faded photograph of a family, their eyes hollow and faces twisted in sorrow. Terrified, Sarah realized the truth. The music box held captive souls, feeding off their despair to play its haunting melody. In a moment of dread, she understood that by winding the key, she unwittingly became a part of its sinister cycle. As the cursed melody grew louder, Sarah's fate intertwined with the sorrowful spirits, doomed to echo through the house for eternity. Deep in the heart of Whispering Woods stood an ancient oak tree, its gnarled branches casting eerie shadows at dusk. Locals whispered of a curse, warning never to linger under its boughs after dark. One moonless night, Mia, a curious wanderer, sought shelter beneath its sprawling canopy. As a chilling wind whispered through the leaves, a figure materialized before her, its eyes gleaming with malevolence. Frozen in fear, Mia glimpsed skeletal hands reaching from the earth. The figure spoke in a voice like rustling leaves. "You've trespassed where shadows dwell." Horror gripped Mia as the ground beneath her gave way, roots coiling around her ankles. With a final scream, she vanished into the earth, swallowed by the oak's vengeful roots. At dawn, all that remained was a small mound of disturbed soil, a grim warning to those who dared disturb the slumbering evil beneath the old oak tree. As Rachel gazed into the antique mirror, her reflection flickered, revealing a shadowy figure standing behind her. Panicked, she turned, but no one was there. Heart racing, she wiped the steam-covered glass, only to see the figure now beside her, mimicking her every move. Frozen in terror, she heard a voice whisper, "Join me." With trembling hands, she smashed the mirror, shattering her doppelganger. As the glass settled, Rachel caught her breath, realizing her own reflection now bore hollow eyes and a sinister smile. As the clock struck midnight, Sarah heard faint whispers echoing through her darkened room. She dismissed them as her imagination until they grew clearer, sinister. Trembling, she lit a candle, casting flickering shadows on the walls. The whispers intensified, forming eerie words. "Join us in the darkness," they hissed. Frozen with terror, she realized the shadows were alive, beckoning her to an unknown realm. In a desperate attempt, she switched on the lights, dispelling the shadows and the haunting whispers. Silence engulfed the room, but Sarah could still feel the chilling presence lingering, a reminder of the sinister realm that nearly claimed her soul. As night descended, a lonely road led Sarah deep into the Whispering Woods. The dense trees seemed to murmur secrets, their branches looming like ghostly fingers. Ignoring the unease crawling up her spine, she pressed on. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the shadows, a spectral woman in a tattered gown. Her hollow eyes fixated on Sarah, whispering a name lost to time. Frozen in terror, Sarah realized the woman mirrored her reflection. With each step backward, the doppelganger advanced until they stood face to face. Sarah's scream pierced the night as skeletal hands reached out, merging their beings in a chilling embrace. Dawn broke on the road, now empty, save for a single mirror reflecting the Whispering Woods' sinister legacy. As the moon hung low in a sky painted with shadows, Mary ventured into the dimly lit cellar, shrouded in a silence so profound it chilled her bones. The air grew thick as she descended, the wooden steps creaking beneath her hesitant tread. Suddenly, a faint whisper danced through the darkness, barely more than a breath, but laden with malice. Ignoring the urge to flee, Mary pressed on until she reached a small, cobwebbed alcove. There, she found an old, dusty mirror reflecting a figure standing behind her, its eyes gleaming with a hunger that froze her soul. With trembling hands, Mary turned to confront the empty darkness, realizing the chilling truth. The whispers weren't echoes of the past, but warnings of a malevolent presence that had been lurking in the shadows, waiting for her to join its haunted realm. As twilight descended, Emma ventured into the dense woods near her home, lured by an inexplicable whispering that beckoned her. The leaves rustled ominously, and shadows danced in the fading light. Panic gripped her, but an unseen force urged her deeper. Following the haunting murmur, she stumbled upon a decrepit cabin. Inside, a mirror reflected a ghastly figure standing behind her. Frozen in terror, she turned but found nothing. As she fled, the whispers grew deafening until, at the forest's edge, silence fell. Looking back, Emma saw her own reflection in the cabin's window, but the figure in the mirror mimicked her movements. She realized with dread, she was trapped in the mirror's world, destined to lure others into the Whispering Forest's eternal torment. As the night fell, a dense mist engulfed the sleepy town, shrouding it in an eerie silence. Emily, a curious teenager, heard faint whispers outside her window. Ignoring the unsettling feeling, she followed the muffled voices into the mist. The whispers grew louder, calling her deeper into the unknown. Suddenly, she stumbled upon an old, abandoned well, its mouth barely visible through the fog. Peering down, she saw a pale face staring back at her, lips mouthing words she couldn't comprehend. Frozen in terror, Emily felt a cold hand grip her shoulder. She turned to see a shadowy figure looming behind her. With a sharp gasp, she awoke in her room, drenched in sweat. Was it a nightmare? Strangely, her window stood wide open, the mist lingering at the edge of the woods. But in the darkness, faint whispers still echoed, as if beckoning her to return to the mist. In a quaint town, renowned pianist Grace discovered an old music sheet tucked inside her piano bench. The notes were hauntingly beautiful, yet unfamiliar. Ignoring a sense of unease, she began to play. As her fingers danced over the keys, a subtle chill filled the room. Each night, the melody beckoned her, growing louder and more insistent. Grace's once brilliant performances turned eerie, as if a dark presence guided her hands. Desperate, she sought the sheet's origin. An elderly neighbor revealed a grim secret. The music was composed by a long-lost musician rumored to have made a deal with a malevolent force. Terrified, Grace vowed to stop playing. But that night, the sheet music mysteriously returned to her bench. Reluctantly, she played the tune one last time. As the final notes echoed, a bone-chilling voice whispered, "Our pact is sealed." The room plunged into darkness, the piano keys now stained with blood. Grace's fate was sealed, forever entwined with the sinister melody. The night sky turned a deep crimson as Sarah wandered into the dense forest, lured by a mysterious glow. She followed the ethereal light deeper, the trees whispering ancient secrets. Suddenly, the glow led her to a hidden clearing where twisted shadows danced ominously. In the center, a ghastly figure emerged, its eyes blazing with the same eerie light. Frozen in terror, Sarah realized the chilling truth. The light was a beacon for something unspeakably sinister. With a blood-curdling scream, she tried to flee, but the light surrounded her, sealing her fate in the heart of darkness. The old house stood silent, shrouded in darkness. Sarah, a skeptic of the supernatural, moved in. Strange whispers filled the night, chilling her bones. Ignoring them, she tried to sleep. One night, the whispers grew louder, forming words. "Leave this place," they hissed. Sarah, unnerved, searched for the source. In the attic, she found a cryptic diary. Its pages detailed a pact made in blood within the house. Suddenly, a cold hand touched her shoulder. Turning, she saw a ghastly figure, the pact's victim. "Join us," it moaned, as Sarah realized her fate was sealed. As the clock struck midnight, the small town fell into an eerie silence. Sarah, a young librarian, heard faint whispers seeping through her bedroom walls. Ignoring them at first, she tried to sleep until the whispers grew louder, forming sinister words. Frozen with fear, she followed the voice to the attic. There, she found an old, dusty diary detailing a ghastly ritual. Suddenly, the whispers ceased, and a bone-chilling coldness enveloped her. Turning around, Sarah saw her own reflection in the mirror, but it wasn't her face staring back. It was a phantom, a twisted version of herself, grinning devilishly. The diary slammed shut, plunged into darkness. Sarah's terrified scream echoed through the night as the phantom whispered, "You freed me." The thick mist settled over the village, shrouding it in an eerie silence. Muffled whispers echoed through the fog, sending shivers down Sarah's spine. She followed the faint sound, drawn to an old abandoned mill. Inside, shadows danced in the dim light. Whispers grew louder, forming unintelligible words. Panic rising, Sarah tried to flee, but found herself trapped. Thickened, ghostly figures emerged, in agony. The whispers turned into desperate cries for help, chilling her to the core. Sarah realized the figures were trapped souls seeking release. With a jolt, she understood they needed her to join them. The mist enveloped her, and the whispers became screams. In that moment, Sarah knew she was doomed to haunt the mist forever, a lost soul in the endless whispers of the fog. As Emily gazed into her antique mirror, a subtle unease crept over her. Each night, a phantom figure appeared behind her reflection, looming closer. She felt icy breath on her neck, but dared not turn. One night, the figure's hand breached the mirror's surface, grazing her shoulder. Terrified, Emily spun around to confront the empty room. The figure now stood beside her, a twisted version of herself, whispering, "I am your true reflection." With a jolt, Emily realized the mirror housed her malevolent doppelganger, longing to swap places. In a desperate act, she shattered the mirror, but her reflection remained hauntingly distorted in every reflective surface. waiting to reclaim its stolen life. As Sarah gazed into the antique mirror in her new home, noticed a subtle distortion in her reflection. Ignoring it, she went about her day, but each passing glance revealed a deeper, unsettling change. One night, the reflection mimicked her movements with a sinister grin, terrifying her only to hear faint whispers whenever she passed by. Convinced she decided to shatter the mirror. As the glass shattered, her reflection remained intact, now free from the mirror's confines, standing before her with glowing eyes and a twisted smile, waiting. As the dense fog rolled into the quaint town, whispers emerged from its depths. Residents dismissed them as the wind's eerie dance, but soon the whispers grew louder, taking shape in the mist. Each night, Sarah heard them outside her window, a haunting lullaby beckoning her. One moonlit night, she followed the ethereal voices into the fog. Amongst the shadows, she saw figures of the long-departed folk, frozen in time. Their eyes held a plea. With a shiver, Sarah realized the whispers were calls for justice from the forgotten souls lost to a tragic fire. And as she turned to leave, a cold hand grasped hers, urging her to uncover the truth buried in the mist forever. In a quaint town, little Lily received a peculiar doll from an unknown sender. Its porcelain face, frozen in a smile, held a haunting allure. At night, whispers echoed from the doll, captivating Lily's curiosity. The whispers grew louder, speaking of hidden secrets and forbidden knowledge. Lily, unable to resist, followed the voices to the attic. There, under the moon's pale light, she found the doll, its eyes gleaming with malice. As the whispers turned into chilling laughter, Lily realized the sinister truth. The doll craved her innocence. Frozen in fear, she felt porcelain hands wrap around her neck, pulling her into a world of eternal silence. The Johnson family moved into their new home, excited for a fresh start. Late one night, they heard faint whispers coming from the attic. Ignoring it initially, the whispers grew louder each night. Curiosity overcame fear as Mr. Johnson climbed up to investigate. In the dim light, he saw a shadowy figure hunched over, whispering words in an unknown language. Frozen in terror, he tried to retreat, but a skeletal hand shot out, gripping his ankle. The figure slowly turned, revealing empty eye sockets and a gaping maw. With a bone-chilling shriek, it lunged forward. The next morning, Mrs. Johnson found the attic empty, except for a decades-old diary. The final entry read, "I offer the whispers a soul each night to spare mine." As she closed the diary, she heard a soft whisper in her ear. "Who will you offer?" As dusk painted the sky in shadowy hues, Rachel ventured into the secluded woods. A thick mist cloaked the ancient trees, whispering of forgotten tales. A distant rustling quickened her pulse. Ignoring her unease, she pressed on. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the fog, its eyes gleaming with malevolence. Frozen with fear, Rachel realized too late